Hey, nice to meet you. So my name is Dario Tranquitella, and I am the co-founder of Classics and also the Kamaji creator. And today I would like to show you how to get Kubernetes made simple with Kamaji and Kairos. So these are two open source projects. Kamaji is one that we are maintaining, but I stumbled upon Kairos, up to you on how to pronounce that. And essentially, it's a very interesting project. So before proceeding, I'm going to provide a quick overview of what is Kamaji. Kamaji is a hosted control plane manager for Kubernetes. So essentially, you need to think about a way to offer Kubernetes as a service, leveraging on the concept of the hosted control plane. So you have a management cluster where you are deploying some CRDs like the tenant control plane definitions with cluster API if you want. And you're exposing the API server as a service to multiple tenants. And these tenants, they could be on-prem, they could be on the cloud. So essentially it's like consuming the API server as a service. And with Kamaji, essentially, you can address multiple use cases. So it can be used to create a managed Kubernetes service or create something on top of Kubernetes like NVIDIA is doing with the Docker platform framework. So essentially, it's a way to create a separation of concern between the control plane, the API server, and the data plane where the users can interact. Essentially, they can't break the API server, and that's very, very important. But they are still responsible for the worker nodes, where the worker nodes could be still, broken by the users with broken upgrades or not correct packages and so on and so forth. And that's the reason why I'd like to introduce Kairos, because in the official website you see that there is more than an edge OS, and the idea here is to have an immutable operating system. So you can imagine you have your own Ubuntu, you have your Fedora or whatever you want, and you want to create a sort of immutable OS. In the infrastructure, we are already having the concept of the immutable infrastructure where we are rolling out new virtual machines that are part of the Kubernetes cluster. But when we are talking about the OS, we already had that approach, visionary approach with CoreOS, then acquired by Red Hat, where essentially we had an immutable approach because you want to roll out virtual machines as cattle. But the main problem is that with virtual machines, it's still feasible, but when you're addressing edge or bare metal, it's going to be more opinionated. Like with Talos, you can do that also with Talos, but you're sticking to Talos as a OS. And here maybe I will need to have my own Ubuntu, my own Alpine. I need to create my own OS tailored to my needs. So essentially with Kairos, you can create worker nodes joining a Kubernetes cluster. These worker nodes are going to be immutable and then with a good benefit for Kubernetes. So after that, I would like to give you a quick overview of what we're going to see. So we have a repository where you can find all the information for this demo. So it's Kamaji Kairos. And as you can see here, we have all the information required. So with Kairos, you have a system to implement providers. And with Kamaji, we are leveraging kubeadm as bootstrap provider. So what I want to do is to create control planes powered by Kamaji, and then Kairos worker nodes, which are using the kubeadm provider. And you can try to follow that step by step, but I'm going to provide also a demo recorded here. So the first thing that I have to do is to build my OCI artifact. So it's provider kubeadm, which is the one available here from GitHub. It's already cloned. And what I need to do is building my Ubuntu 22 LTS AMD64 because I want to use my kubeadm version v1.41.1. So what I want to do is to say I want to have immutable OS here with my preferred version of kubeadm. And when I need to roll out new nodes, essentially I just need to upgrade like a firmware for the OS. So what I'm going to do is to copy this one and launch that. And I'm using Airflow, well, kubeadm provider and also the providers offered by Kairos. They are using Airflow, and it should be pretty quick because everything is cached. But just for the sake of reason, yes, it was cached. As you can see here, we have the images. I don't need to cut the recording. And what we have to do is just to push this image to our container registry. Keep in mind that why do we need an OCI? Because we are going to see that essentially with Kairos, we are using the cloud native configuration as a way to configure when a node is turning on, when it's bootstrapped, all the settings for that node. In our case, just for the sake of simplicity, we are going to use AWS, and I already baked this file where I'm asking to perform a reset. So essentially, with AWS, you already have an OS powered by Kairos, which is a Ubuntu, but I'm asking to use my own OCI artifact. And this is very interesting because we always use the OCIs just for containers, but they are storing artifacts. So essentially we could use that also for our own OS. So long story short, when we are using this configuration file on AWS, we are resetting the OS to use the Ubuntu 22 with kubeadm with already pre-baked binaries inside of that. And keep in mind, this is very important because binaries, they cannot be installed using apt because apt could be broken or apt couldn't be available in air-gapped environments. So many reasons. And after that, we need to perform some other actions, the classic actions that you can have on Cloud Init. But the most important thing is that we need also to get our cluster. So in this way, we can say, please, Kairos, we want to let this virtual machine, bare metal node, edge node to join a Kubernetes cluster. But how can I create a Kubernetes cluster? Well, we have a playground area here on our playground area by Classics. It's for free. And what I can do is to create my Kairos cluster using the v1.41. And there we go. Once we click on create, it takes some times. And trust me, it should be no more than 10 seconds. But I'm just removing my webcam to be sure that it's quick enough. Trust me, it was very quick. And now we have our cluster. And you see that it's already ready. Sorry for the word joke. And what we need is to get all the kubeadm configuration to join worker nodes. If I click on add, you see here that I have all the required data. So what we need is our kubeadm, well, not the kubeadm, but the Kubernetes API endpoint. And pay attention here because it's 443. So I'm going to say control plane host, and I'm replacing that. Also here, I have also the certificate SHA. So just to be sure that everything is secure by design. And also we need the token. This is a disposable token. So I'm going to put everything here and here. That's great. I still need also my public key. So cut SSH ID RSA pub, and I can replace that according to my needs. So everything is fine here. So what I need to do is to connect on AWS and launch an instance. So this is going to be my Kairos worker, and I can browse the AMI in the community one looking for Kairos. Here it is. We can ignore that there is a change of the Ubuntu version because we are going to reset the OS with our own OCI artifact where we have kubeadm. Great. After that, we can change the instance type. We are going to use a T3 large. I can ignore also the key pair because the key pair is going to be managed using Kairos, and also the security groups. We are going to use the default one. And let's say 32 gigabytes of storage for the images. And now in the advanced details, we need to use the user data. So I can copy my Kairos configuration and I can paste it here and launch my instance. And now it's time to wait for the EC2 instance to be up and running. I'm going to pause the recording. The virtual machine on AWS is now ready. You see here that we are getting ping responses, and I can perform the SSH using the Kairos basic password. And what I want to show you is that we are getting the reset in progress. So with Kairos, we have these partitions, and we can also fetch the logs to see what's happening. Log Kairos, everything. So you see here that we are copying the OCI artifact, which is my Ubuntu 22 LTS kubeadm, and now everything is going to be unpacked to the active partition. And this active partition will be then swapped with the state that will be my eventually working node joining my tenant control plane cluster powered by Kamaji. I'm going to pause again the recording. Okay, you see here that the OCI source has been copied correctly, and now we are creating the final image that will be our working node. So it's taking its time, and also if we take a look to the configuration file, we are forcing the install. So keep in mind that this is a different approach rather than the traditional Kairos way of behaving, because we are running in the cloud. So we are performing a reset and then installing and forcing installation to get the node joining as a fresh installation. Keep in mind that the best way is creating your own golden image and then performing installation in the traditional way. The reset is just a way, a sort of factory reset of a working node or any virtual machine that you need to manage through Kairos. And as you can see here, we copied everything, and now it's just time to wait for the completion of the reboot. The machine has been rebooted, as you can see here, and since it's going to be a different virtual machine than the previous one, I need also to clean up some entries from the known host. And now, finally, I can SSH again on my Kairos node, and I can type the password if I want to use the password. And what's very interesting is that now I can see that something is happening here with the kubeadm provider. You see here that we have the kube join log, and if I try to cut it, you see here that the kubelet has joined my cluster automatically. And if I issue also try-ctl ps-a, you see here that some containers are running. And I can double check also with my Kamaji. So I can switch to my console, I can reload, and I can see here that my node has joined 47 seconds ago. But of course, keep in mind that how can I access the kubeconfig? Well, the API server. So I need a kubeconfig. I can get this one, and I can issue also remove tmp Kairos. Yeah, tmp Kairos. Export kubeconfig tmp Kairos. kubectl version. I'm running v141. kubectl get nodes, and we see that we have our worker node powered by AWS and powered by Kairos, with everything already configured by Kamaji. So we have the deployments, we have coordinates, Cilium, we have traffic, Service Manager, all the add-ons that I configured for this cluster. So we got Service Manager, Cilium, external secrets, traffic, and also we already have the log access for all the actions here. And since we have still connectivity on the worker node, I can give a try also in upgrading the system. So apt update apt upgrade. Let's see if I can do something. The answer is yes. But unfortunately, the file system, the underlying file system, is in read-only mode. So I can download temporary, but I won't be able to upgrade that node. Read-only file system. So eventually the question is, how can I upgrade this node? It's immutable. Of course it is. But what I really like also about Kairos is that it has not been designed properly for Kubernetes, but it addresses also Kubernetes, and it offers an upgrading path directly from Kubernetes. So there is so many room to learn more about Kairos. And to be honest, I have also to thanks a lot. I have to thank a lot the maintainers, because I made so many questions and they were always keen and helpful answering me. So essentially, with the upgrade path from Kubernetes, you can create your own strategy to roll out new worker nodes. And this is very, very interesting, because essentially you can create the plans like the KubeADM plans when you need to say, I want to upgrade from V141 to 32 or 33, since it's the latest release by Kubernetes. But this is done, this is possible for the worker nodes. So I hadn't yet the time to give it a try, but it's something that I'm very keen on, and I'm very excited because Kairos seems a way, the perfect way to manage your OS with your desired stack, your desired packages in a mutable way, and you're decreasing the surface of attack also for the OS. So why I'm trying to promote here Kairos and Kamaji, because with Kamaji, you are creating a separation from the control plane from the users. And with Kairos also, you are providing hardened worker nodes joining the Kubernetes cluster. So my suggestion here is to try, of course, Kamaji if you want, or just give a try to Kairos. There is the documentation website. You can find everything in the reference, and you see the configuration. And also remember, they are available in the Kubernetes Slack. It's not the Kubernetes Slack workspace, but the CNCF Slack workspace, because Kairos, it's a CNCF project supported by Spectral Cloud. And with that said, I think that I completed my demo. So thank you so much for joining that, and let's stay connected. Cheers!